This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome back to Jurassic Park Minute. Jurassic Park Minute is the fan podcast that chronicles and overanalyzes the classic 1993 film Jurassic Park minute by minute. I'm Kyle.
I'm Brady.
And today is a Friday, so
That's
you know what that
right.
means. We're going to be talking all about the Ice Cube Chris Tucker movie Friday.
Exactly.
And Bye Felicia and all those jokes that we love and the smoking weed and everything. So how are you today?
That's pretty good. Bye, Felicia. Man, that never gets old.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't get old at all. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, people just saying it all the time. And I'm like, haha, it's funny every time I hear it. Every
Yeah.
time I hear it.
You
every
know
time
who
I read
you
it.
are.
Yeah. But speaking of Bye Felicia, would you want... I can't even make those two work.
No,
You want to go
'cause
ahead
they
and
don't.
you
No.
want to go ahead and give minute number 39?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. In the previous minute, we met Lex and Tim, Hammond's grandkids. As the minute ended, we saw the tour SUVs drive up. At minute number 39, Hammond leads Grant, Ellie, and Malcolm towards the vehicles. Hammond tells them that the vehicles will be the transport for the afternoon. Gennaro asks him if there are any drivers. At 39:10, Hammond tells him that there are no drivers and the trucks run on a track in the middle of the roadway. Hammond tells Gennaro that the cars are electric and totally non-polluting. He makes a note that they spared no expense in the development of the cars. At 39:14, we cut to an interior shot of the car where Lex has found a touchscreen interactive monitor. She makes a note to tell everyone that it is an interactive CD-ROM. At 39:20, Hammond takes Ellie to the second car. Malcolm follows her. Grant looks at Malcolm suspiciously as he follows Ellie. At 39:31, we cut to a shot of Hammond walking back to the visitor center. At 39:35, as Grant walks towards the second car, Tim stops him in his path. Tim tells Grant that he read his book. Grant tells him that's great and walks away. Tim asks Grant if he really thinks that dinosaurs turned into birds. Grant tells him that a few of the species may have evolved along those lines. Tim follows Grant into the SUV and tells him that they don't look like birds to him. And thus ends minute number 39 of Jurassic Park. So, we get a little bit more interaction between Tim and Grant. We did talk a lot about yesterday how the cause of the divorce between Ellie and Grant was the fact that Ellie wanted to have children and Grant did not, and I think finally we agreed that that was definitely the case. We get a little bit more interaction between Grant and Tim here, and just kind of see Grant's being uncomfortable around children, his disgust for children, if you will, and a child who's a huge fan of Grant. And before that, we get one of the best moments of this movie.
Yeah?
And that is when Lex finds the interactive CD-ROM inside of the dash console of the Ford Explorer.
Yeah.
She definitely, it's funny because CD-ROMs were like a new thing at that point.
That's not how that would work, right? An interactive CD-ROM, a touchscreen CD-ROM?
I mean, it would. It would be on a hard drive because if you had a CD-ROM on there and the car was moving, it'd be skipping a lot. Probably. I don't know if you remember this, but like when CDs were first introduced in cars, it wasn't really the best technology. If you hit a bumpy road, the stabilizers weren't really there, and it would skip a lot. So it was very difficult to get CDs to play sometimes. So I can't imagine where a computer actually had to read data off of a CD that really would have done a whole lot of good. But
it looks a little bit dated, obvioly, but
at the time,
at the time,
it was like thinking machine supercomputers, huh?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
No, it was, it looks a little bit dated, but it's still ahead of its time. I mean, touchscreen is obviously something that we see all over the place nowadays, but I can't think of too many places in between the release of this film and the last, 10, 15 years where that would have been, it's something that you could just pull out of your pocket and then be able to touch the screen and get wherever you want.
I mean, I joke around about it, and we joke a lot about old technology that we see in movies. There's a place in my heart that really loves seeing that kind of stuff. But it was around that time where technology was magic, and they were one and the same, like the Lawnmower Man, in this kind of like pre-millennial plur era where the internet was just the thing was going to bring everybody together, and Johnny Mnemonic and hackers and the net and all that stuff. It's really funny. But Michael Crichton was definitely had his finger on the pulse of what was going on, because a lot of this stuff really wouldn't come into public consciousness for a few years later. I don't think we even had a computer with a CD-ROM on it until a couple of years after Jurassic Park came out.
And what's awesome is that stuff is all over this movie, but it doesn't just drown you in it. There's all kinds of talk of like future technologies and everything coming about, but it's not all in your face. It's like, check it out. Check out everything we've got in this movie. All the
right, yeah. It's not the sole purpose of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It wouldn't be like a movie about a killer CD-ROM.
Yeah.
Well, what would you call that? CD-ROM, Compact Death.
Compact
Would
Death.
that be what that movie's called? Killer Disc.
Okay.
But the killer starts with a C.
Listeners, we have a Facebook page. I want you to go put your
So we're
ideas.
writing a movie about the horrors of technology, right? And we want to write this movie about a CD that kills people. What would the title of the movie be?
Yeah.
So
Go take your ideas and go put them on our Facebook page.
Facebook.com/Jurassic Park Minute. Yeah, let us know what you think the title of the movie about the killer CD-ROM should be, and the winner of that will be notified. We'll say the title of your movie on the show. Yeah,
there you go. So you come out ahead in life. Yeah. So we see a lot of a great example of Steven Spielberg's blocking of actors, where the actor's going to be, where the camera's going to be, and it's done very, very, very well here. How Tim follows him and is cutting him off, and then goes through the car. The car. The camera's coming out the other side of the car. It's really well done, and we also get to see the Ian Malcolm that we've all come to love come back to us.
Yeah,
he's now
a
back
rock star.
Yeah, he's now being the rock star and everything. So and there's one other moment where, when Hammond is explaining how the cars move on the track in the middle of the road, Gennaro's expression towards his his enthusiasm and his zeal for this is really funny. But outside of that, all I have is that Tim is dressed kind of similar to Grant.
Yeah. He's got that thing around his neck. He's got the blue thing tied off.
They both have denim shirts on.
I think
kind
so.
Of the same color?
Yeah. I don't know that. Maybe it was intentional. I'm sure there was a picture of Alan Grant inside of his book, and maybe Tim dressed up like him to do that.
I would think that's a little too obvious if it was done intentionally. It'd be a little too obvious. Yeah, so that's all I've got for this minute. Kind of a shorter episode, but the last 2 days we've had very long episodes that were filled with all kinds of debating.
There's just not a whole lot going on in this minute, honestly. And a lot of the philosophy of the movie's kind of coming to an end. We're about to get into the action, the really entertaining stuff, and I think we're going to have a lot to talk about with technique of the movie going forward. So.
I mean, when it comes to a scene that's going to be comprised of several minutes of a Tyrannosaurus Rex attacking people, there's going to be more talk of like you just said, as opposed to what's different about this minute as opposed to the last minute.
The movie magic, if you will. And when I say movie magic, I do this with my finger and pixie dust falls out, right? I have something real quick I want to talk about. The tracks that the cars run on, you don't actually see them connected to the track. So I'm curious if it was like they have something called a trackless a system for like people movers like this in amusement parks, where a lot of them will have kind of like relays hidden underneath the floor.
Yeah, like the people mover and the monorail system in Disney World, aren't they controlled by magnets?
I think there is a linear induction system underneath the monorails, right? This one, I think the car's completely electric, which is a little scary. That's why the cars stop when they're out by the T-Rex pad. They've been able to build into the screenplay that crippling effect of when the electricity goes out, right? Hey, electric cars, they're so awesome unless you can't get power to them, unless the sun goes away. But to get back to what's going on here, you don't see anything connecting the car to the track. So I'm not sure if the power is coming from the track. I think the power is probably in the car. But in some amusement parks these days, and I'm trying to think of some of the rides that have these, there is a Winnie the Pooh ride in Japan at the Magic Kingdom there that has no track system to it. And the cool thing about that is they can put these leads underneath the ground that the people movers, or the carts follow, but there's no actual track underneath them, so they'll move around the ground guided by this system that's underneath the floor.
The Hollywood Tower of Terror, the elevator system
yes, it does. You're right.
It's not on a track.
It's not on a track.
Driving itself over the floor, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, and that would have been. I think that ride actually came out just like a year or so, maybe after this, or maybe it was the same year. So yeah,
and that's interesting because this movie is about a theme park. And it's, like we're saying, this whole track system works almost in the same way that the track systems do in actual theme park rides.
Right, yeah.
So Michael Crichton the guy was just so aware and in touch with everything that was going on.
Yeah, but, the cool thing is that they kind of drop that hint now. Oh, it's completely electric. It's non-polluting. And then we kind of see later, that backfires on them. So
that's true.
So we do have that built in.
There's something else cool that's going on in these last couple of minutes, is that you start to see all the workmen around inside the visitor center rotunda, and then on the side of the building, like putting on their backpacks and putting up their equipment and walking away, which is kind of subtly getting us into the The idea that
the clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking, and things are about to get real claustrophobic.
And we did have that announcement earlier, like, hey, everybody, just want to let you know that, you know, in a few minutes we're going to get the notification about the storm. We have a couple of different ticking clocks going on there. Everything's speeding up. It's really well done. It's really well done. It's a really very subtle way to put all that stuff in. Oh, here's the trackless system for the cars. And then they start talking about gas Jeeps later, so, you know, they do have a way to get out. They make a point of saying, like, would you take a gas Jeep out? A gas-powered Jeep. It's like, who calls it a gas-powered Jeep? Oh, you want to get in my gas-powered car, you know, to impress people? Like, oh, it runs on fossil fuels? How amazing.
Wow. So that's everything that I've got for this minute. How about you?
That's everything I have for this minute as well. Now, of course, we did talk in the last couple of shows about a few things we have coming up. Monday drops the very first episode of
Goonies Minute.
Yeah. So people might have heard the pilot that came on this week where you and Chris got together and kind of laid out the premise for the show.
That's right.
You guys have been recording that. That's going to drop on Monday. I've heard it. I think it's a great show. I think you guys really have something special there. And Goonies is hilarious. There's so much funny stuff going on in this movie.
And, you know, so one of the great things about recording these Movies by Minutes podcast is you are seeing things you've never seen in movies that you are so familiar with. I have just a few minutes in already noticed all these little things that I never noticed. And then, of course, in researching trivia and background of everything the movie's about, I'm also just discovering all this stuff that's going to forever make this a different movie watching experience for me.
I would say if there's a younger person out there that wants to get into filmmaking or film studies, do this like we're doing right now.
Absolutely.
Take your favorite movie and break it down minute by minute. You don't have to do a podcast about it, but, you know, take some notes and read up on it and just kind of study everything that's going on in the background. Study the way the story is broken up. You know, a lot of times I think dialogue in movies is kind of taken in at almost a hypnotic level. We don't really read into it. We kind of get the emotion and the feeling of what's going on in the scene, but we don't really break down the logic of the words that the people are saying on screen. And this has definitely forced me to jump into it and really overanalyze, as we say in the show beginning.
Something about the Goonies too, just a little bit of something new that I've noticed. That may have been an obvious thing in front of me the whole time, but Mikey, the leader of the Goonies, isn't just a kid who's on an adventure trying to get back to safety or whatever. He's a pirate. He's completely a pirate, and this is exemplified in different little subtle things that you see that we're gonna, you know, point out as we go through
all
the
the
minutes.
nautical theming in the house.
Lots more than that.
Yeah,
a whole lot more than that. So be sure to tune back in for Goonies Minute, and we're going to tell you about that and so much more.
And then, of course, also dropping tomorrow, we're going to have our Star Wars special, our Life Day special, if you will.
The Star Wars Holiday Special broken down would be something kind of interesting, or not at all.
It would be an exercise in futility, and I don't know that you would actually survive the process of watching Lumpy minute by minute.
Have you ever seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
So that's going to be coming on tomorrow. If you want to get a hold of that, that's going to be one of our bonus Patreon episodes. Now, what we do is we do have a Patreon set up, and we use some of the funds from the patrons out there to kind of offset server cost and buy new equipment, things like that. So if you go over to patreon.com/PeleMedia, you can find out how to get that episode, which drops tomorrow. You'll get all the future episodes for the subscription price, and also you'll get a full catalog of the Ghostbusters Minute episodes, which we've done. I think there's like 20 of them, something like that.
A lot.
Which were some of my favorite things that we've done.
Oh, I'm very proud.
Yeah. They're really fun. So, the Star Wars thing's going to be coming out this weekend. We're going to look at The Force Awakens a year out, kind of talk about how Disney has been a shepherd of the Star Wars franchise and what we think is going to happen in Rogue One. And it's just going to be general discussion about Star Wars. And we're probably all here because of Star Wars. I imagine there's a lot of Star Wars fans out there. All right, were you ready to get out of here?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, folks. Everybody have a great weekend. I'm Kyle.
I'm Brady.
And until next time, hold on to your butts.
Jurassic Park Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the podcast, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can contact us at JurassicParkMinute@gmail.com and visit us online at JurassicParkMinute.com, Facebook.com/Jurassic Park Minute, and Twitter.com/Jurassic Minute.
You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at patreon.com/PeleMedia. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/PeleMedia and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/PeleMedia.